Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I'm back for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery to show you my finished fritillaria piece, to do some work and give you an update on my tulip piece, which originally started as my front page, but because we've got the prompt of spring bulbs, I thought I'll probably end up putting it in my spring section. And so yeah, I'll give you an update on how I've put it all together, including my fun little flippy function here. And then I was thinking I'll show you how you can felt into cotton fabric with a backing piece on it to get lovely textural and almost just like a variation on the thread painting that I've done over here. And then the third exciting thing I've got in this video is to show you a big bundle of vintage doilies, embroidered doilies and cloths that I got off Facebook Marketplace. It popped up last night. I think it's about 30 items that I got for $20, and they are absolutely lovely, and so we can have a look through those together. So I just picked that up this morning. It is Sunday morning. I took Travis for a walk at a different dog park he hadn't been to near where I was picking them up, so that will be the third part of the video. So I'll start off with my fritillaria piece. So this is a piece where I printed onto cotton with a botanical design and my own writing about the fritillaria, and then use lots of lovely embellishments to decorate around the border. So I've got fabrics underlaying, including some quite bright fabrics, and I used the backs of those. Got lovely trees up here, got what reminds me of a bee, and then got these little what remind me of little insect eggs. Just love the lace down here, and then I've done stitching also into the fabric along the parts of the botanical design. I'll give you a closer look at those. So even little stitching into the checkerboard pattern. Added some fun sort of roots to the bulb, stitched up that. Added little crosses to stitch it down, stitched all around the outside, stitched all of these pieces down with an invisible stitching, and I just love how layered and textural it is. I also love this beaded piece, which I sort of scrunched up and put stitches into, and this little bobbly piece as well, which is just lovely. And then I mounted it onto the card. I'm using comic board acid-free card. Lots of people use this to wrap their fabric onto. And then I've adhered it actually just with Yoo-hoo glue, which I find works fabulously with fabric, and folded it over. The one key thing I have to do when I'm working is make sure I don't stitch these bits over onto the fabric. There was a couple of bits where I just had to snip a few little stitches, but they'll be held fine anyway. But just, yeah, really pleased with how that's come out. And subsequently I've had it sitting between two books, including the book that's going to be the cover for this volume, and it's just made it sit beautifully beautifully flat. I was a bit worried that it might end up sort of a bit bobbly in places where because I didn't do a full like kantha stitch. I didn't want that effect on this piece. But yeah, really pleased with how that has turned out. So I'll pop that over here. And then this is what was going to be the front page, my tulip piece. And so I've now stitched down the border. I finished doing all the thread painting, which I had done with you in previous videos. So I just love it. Really beautiful. I might end up when we do the felting in putting a little bit of felt into the center, because I didn't want to do stitches all the way down into the very dark sort of section. So I might have a go at just putting a bit of felt down there, I think, if it needs it. I'm not sure. But I'm thinking, and I've started the process of adding felt, felting technique using a eucalyptus fibre, so an Australian native fibre, which is a beautiful glossy glistening fibre, and I'm planning to do some of that on the stems as well. I might also use a wool fibre, so this is Corriedale. So yeah, just again layering things up. Beautiful ribbons. The reason I've got it clipped is because I put the comic board card behind it to make sure that everything was kind of the right dimensions. because I want to be able to fold the fabric over like I did on the other one and stick it down eventually once I've done all the felting and stitching. So I've got the name of the bulb down here. I've got my fun little flip, so I've got a picture of the bulb that came off on another bit of the fabric. Well, in fact, it originally was down here. And then I've got my flip, and I've got what reminded me from another piece of fabric I had from the reverse art track of like an interior of a bulb. And it had all these lovely fringy bits. I trimmed them down a little bit and I fringed them up even sort of further and then added stitches. So it really reminds me of a bulb. So really happy with that, and I just used a doily, stitched on or part of a doily and put that so that it would be a flip, and I used a lovely piece of braid that I had as the backing and just did stitching all the way around there. Used a piece, I think this was just a tie off a pillowcase, but it sort of reminds me a bit of a ticking and just the perfect neutral tones. Just love this piece of lace sort of edging which I got from Pitt Trading in one of their lovely packages. Some beautiful trim that might have been from Pitt Trading. Beautiful, gorgeous vintage ribbon. This lovely fabric which has numbers on it, because often these field notes had numbers embedded in them. And then yeah, I've just been doing kantha stitching, lots of kantha stitching. Travis and I were up earlier than Alex this morning, so I sat down on the couch with my cup of coffee. Travis loves to crawl right on top of my lap, even though he is a huge Labrador now. So he sits on my lap and I'm very carefully stitched so I don't stab him with the needle or lose the needles. So we could probably just do, because I was just looking before and thinking I need to put a few extra little kantha stitches in here and some across here. So we might start with that, do some felting together of the petals and the leaves, so you can get to see how that is, and then I'll show you my lovely doilies that I have picked up. So now that you've had the close look at it, I'll bring you down. Sorry, not the distant look at it, I mean. I'll bring you down so that we can work at a better level where I can see what you can see. So I will unencumber it from its place. I'll actually chuck these into my lovely little keep-all. That's where I keep my threads when I'm stitching downstairs, and I can keep my needle stuck into there as well. It works so well, and have my little scissors in there also. So put the card over there. Now, so I said kantha stitching first, so let's do that. So I'm using for that just a vintage crochet yarn. This is a chain Mercer crochet coats. Not sure how vintage it is, but it looks pretty vintage because there's age marks inside. So but I find the vintage crochet, they don't degrade in quality. None of the ones I've had have been a problem. So what I'm going to do is just put some little single sort of kantha stitches over the ends just to hold those down a bit better. I was watching a fascinating, I haven't watched it for a while, and I found there was another season when I looked on SBS here in Australia, and it's called Who Do You Think? I think it's called Who Do You Think You Are? And they help people kind of make family connections, and so these are people that might not have known, there might have been a bit of a family mystery about something, and it's just fascinating, and the things people discover. The couple I was watching last night, they'd always known that their mum, who'd come to Australia from Europe, she'd always kind of seemed like she had sort of secrets or something she was running from, and they'd discovered that she'd been kind of a Nazi sympathiser and had become estranged from her family because her family were actually in the resistance, and that she had a child with one of the Nazis, and then kind of had to, as liberation came and as they swept through, she'd had to kind of move around and escape with her child. And so yeah, they were able to trace back and find her whole story. And in fact, one of her friends, who was also yeah, sort of in the extremist side. Yeah, it was quite covered in, like, was covered in a lot of the reports and media and things. So, and they were able to find, yeah, photos of the mother, and it's just, yeah, I think the children were quite shocked and sad that their mother always kind of felt like she had to hide that part of her life. But just incredible. And they sort of, yeah, they use DNA to kind of, yeah, track down and work out and track down relatives and connect people up. But yeah, they actually hit those now adult children. Yeah, had a grandmother. Unfortunately, she had passed by the time that they were starting this search, but had even left them. They were her only relatives, I guess. So it's just sad that they never got to connect up. And then I was watching one this morning while I was sitting down on the couch with Travis, and this lady who had always thought she'd known that she was adopted, and she'd connected up with, through the adoption process, with who she thought was her adoptive mother, and then only to find out, I think when she did a DNA test, that wasn't her, not her adoptive mother, her birth mother she'd connected up with, but then discovered that wasn't actually her birth mother, and that she had been switched in a hospital when she was born with another baby, and discovered, she was from, I think, from Melbourne, or definitely from within Australia. The lady that was searching for her mother discovered that she was actually, she'd always thought she was Irish English, but she was Greek. And at first, when she was trying to reach out to her actual Greek mother, who'd been in Australia to have the baby and then gone back to Greece and gone on to have an entire family herself, her Greek mother didn't want to connect with her, I think felt the shame, etc. But fortunately, the Greek mother's children did decide that they wanted to connect, and then the Greek mother did decide that she would also connect. So yeah, just incredible. Nice to have the happy stories where people get to connect, and sort of shame doesn't need to carry on. It's just about people wanting to know where they fit, I guess. Need to loosen it a bit more. So when I'm doing the felting, most people actually who felt, they will do it into a mat. But when I'm working with a cotton, what I like to do now, I haven't put it into the hoop when it's had the additional embellishments on it, so this could prove a little bit more difficult, but I think it will be fine. There we go, that's right. I'll just give it a tighten. When I'm doing it into like a cotton, I put something on the back of it, a wool. Good to have like a nice thick wool. In this case, it was just a wool woven fabric. But the main thing is you just need it to be able to go through and felt. And so what you can see here is the fuzz from the felting needle going through. So the felting tools that I use, I have both a multi-tool that can put 6 needles into it. Usually I just use that with a 3, but mostly I use the single one when I'm doing more detailed felting like this. And it has a needle that goes up into it. And this is an Australian invention, and I met the couple when I bought it when I was last up in Alpine, Victoria. Was it the last time? I think it was the last time, earlier this year, in summer. Bought it from the couple that invented it. And they're engineers. They're not actually felters, but they had friends that asked them to come up with something, and now this is sold all over the world. But I bought it from there. I think they've got actually alpacas, llamas. I really actually struggle to tell the difference between them. But basically, it's got little barbs, and it will felt in. I don't think it would work if you were just going straight into cotton. I think it kind of needs to have something, but the hoop means that I'm not having to dive it into a felting mat, and it then doesn't kind of try and mat itself on. So I don't know if it makes this process slower, but the main thing is just to get the felt sort of sticking down onto it. Now I've got a few different colours. I started out, I think, I'm trying to remember what colour I started. Yeah, I started with this colour, which is a eucalyptus. So you wouldn't think that eucalyptus would come up looking so beautiful and glistening. And it's from a place called, if you're in Australia, woolchambers.com.au, and they were so affordable. Like, you wouldn't think, and you don't need to buy a lot, and this site lets you buy them in quite small quantities, which is great, but it's got plenty for me to use for quite a while, I think. So let me show you how it works. So might just trim that little endy, just trimming the end so I sort of get it to where I want it to start. And so I'm then going to just start to get that end bit just to kind of anchor, because you want to have it attached somewhere. And what I love about these tools is they don't go clickety clackety. I had been watching people felt before I got these. Not a lot of watching of felting, but I had seen people using it. But that sort of the really cheapy made tools, they tend to be quite clippy clappy with the sound that they make. So I'm just shaping it with where the petal sort of goes. So I'm going to just bring it. And I don't want it to sort of totally cover the fabric underneath. I want to still be able to see the fabric through it. And so then I just start felting into it just to start to anchor the pieces down. I do recommend that you probably do the felting as your last step in the process, because if you're doing a lot of other stitching and grabbing it, it can become a little bit fluffed up, although you can always then anchor it down again. It's pretty forgiving, but in this case I want it to have quite a shine and a sheen and not look sort of too fuzzy. And so I'm just going to split these ones out a bit, just using the end of my felting needle. Just bring it around a bit, get some to sort of sit over at that furthest edge. And yeah, when I first tried this on this piece, I wasn't sure it was going to work, but I didn't have it in the hoop, I think, when I was trying it. So, but once I got going, I was like, no, this is lovely, and it just gives a lovely feel if you touch the piece, which I always want people to touch my stitching. I'm not precious. I know when I've heard Sarah Homfray talk about when she was at sort of embroidery college, like at a very professional, the London School of Embroidery, or I might not have the name right, they weren't even kind of allowed to touch their works. They had to wear gloves, and that it wasn't something that you could do as a tactile sort of thing. They'd be framed up and put behind glass. But I love that our slow stitch can be something that's visual and tactile. And so if I've got a little end piece like that, I have two choices. I could either snip it off, or in this case, I can just bend it around and then just kind of weave its little tail back into the, and then just anchor it at each of the points where it kind of needs to bend around a bit. But yeah, I do like this single little tool because it allows you to do very precise felting. Over from there, just having a look what I've got there. Okay. And the good thing is you can just sort of keep adding pieces where you think you need them. I just want to make sure that I've got them anchored enough that they're not going to come out. And you can tell that you've felted through well when you can see the fluff on the back. Now I'm just going to tighten up my little canvas a bit more, put an extra little tightening on. And I might bring a bit of the bright red in here, I think, just. And so when I'm pulling it off the thing, I just kind of give it a tug so I get like a whole fibre. think I might put some beautiful red into the center, so I'm just spreading it out sort of. I might actually loop this one around as well. I'll just start by anchoring it down. Just want to kind of spread it a little bit. So again, I'm just going to hopefully not felt in a bit of lace or something. Do you get all those little tiny, when you're like trimming doilies and things, you get all these tiny little bits of lace sitting on the desk. If they're a usable size, I keep them, but those tiny bits, they become like lace doily dust. I'm thinking I'll just bring it to the top and then bring it around. Maybe I'll get it up to the top first, then I'll twist it. So again, just want to spread it out a little bit, fringe it out a bit, and then I'll anchor it up the top up here and put some. And you do want to keep your fingers out of the way, so if you are working in an embroidery hoop, try and make sure your fingers are staying well away from where your little felting needle is coming through. So yeah, if you do want to look these up, if you're in Australia, Snowy Creek Engineering sells them, but I do believe felting stores do as well. But the couple, the engineer, man and woman, both engineers, they were absolutely lovely. I don't think they often have people come and pick them up from their farm door. Alex was a bit worried about the road. It was a pretty rough road to go and pick them up, but I'm sure you can get them posted to you as well. I'll try and remember to put a link in the description as well. I think I've shared the link previously, but yeah, Snowy Creek Engineering, and you'll see felting tools. But I have no affiliation to them. Paid for my own tools. They also sell the very good German engineered needles. I think I only broke one early on because my technique was really poor. I think I was doing it on an angle, which was not good for it. But I just love how you can kind of get that almost very different to the painting with thread, but just get a really painted effect to the leaves. And in this case, that real look that the tulip leaves, tulip petals have, which is just glistening and lovely. And so I just like to then sort of, smooth it down with my finger, make sure there's no loose bits sticking out. Pretty happy with that. And so then we can probably do a bit over there. So it's just working out which of the colours I might want to use on that side. I think I'll keep going with this one as the base and then add others into it. So I've got some little frisbee bits. So again, I might just trim the end a smidge, just so I start with something a bit more substantial to felt in. Sorry, I just realised I totally stopped talking there. So hopefully you enjoyed a nice little. I was just deeply lost in my thoughts for a moment. Isn't that funny? I just kind of totally flipped out. You would have still been able to hear the felting, but you probably thought, "Where's Christine gone? She's left us." I was here. I promise, I was here in spirit. Just my mind just went into its own little. I do think that this process of tapping into the fabric is quite relaxing. So I think that's why I just got lost in my thoughts for a moment. So yeah, even if you haven't tried felting, it's not, once you get going and once you have a play, it's not hard. I'm sure you can kind of build, like with slow stitching or anything, you build sort of proficiency, but you can get going and you can create some lovely effects pretty quickly. And I just like the versatility. I just like that these can be mixed media pieces, and with the felting as well, I can do dimensional elements like I did on my felted and thread painted embroidery hoop bag. I haven't got that in immediate reach, but probably just need to fringe these a bit more. It's okay, I'll probably overlay a few more over it anyway. I might use a bit of the pinky loveliness. Put that down the centre, I think. And so as you can see, it's hardly anything that you're adding on, so you can see how that felt or that eucalyptus fibre will just last a really long time. I want these to kind of be running upwards, so I'll just cut it again and felt that next little bit down. Don't know if I should hold it up so I don't make the table bobble, although it's easier having it resting at least at one bit. I hope the camera is not moving too much. It's attached to a separate set of shelves, but I do notice that because the table's against those shelves, sometimes it can get vibrations. So bring the pink around a little bit and anchor it down. So I just use the sort of tip of the felting tool just sometimes to kind of just move the fibres where I want them to be. Do we want to have this go up a bit higher and a bit over this way? But yeah, if you're only going to get one felting tool and wanted to be doing it into your slow stitching, I'd probably say get the single felting tool. I know some people just hold the actual needles themselves, but this just makes it so ergonomic. They do have a plain version, which is just the steel, the anodized steel, I think, but when I was talking to the man before I bought it, he said no, the coated ones will be much more comfortable long term, so I'm glad I got the coated one. They have all different colours. I wasn't fussed about the colour. Just got the basic blue. But you can also get cheap ones on the places where you might get cheap things, but I do love supporting especially Australian inventions. I just think that's so cool. And when I was in the local region, it's now just such a wonderful souvenir that I have of a place in Victoria that I love too. Isn't it nice when we can get stitchy souvenirs from where we go? Whether it be some op shop goodies that we can bring into our stitching, or tools, or go and visit a local quilting shop. do the next leaf. I wasn't sure I was going to do all of them. I thought some of the petals at the back I might leave, but I think it looks rather nice. I will make sure we get a bit of stem time too, and then some doily time. Probably I'd have to do this in 2 bits, I think. As you can see, I just kind of try and anchor it down where it's got to kind of twist around, for example. Probably didn't even need this thickness of it, but that's okay. Just go up to the top and sort of try and anchor that around a bit. Then maybe I'll leave it anchored until and cut it. Actually, maybe I will cut it there. I could have twisted it around, but I didn't want too much thickness on it, so I think I'll just be able to put these ends in and then add another little bit down there. Sure those ends are well attached into the base fabric. And I think I actually only need a smaller amount of it here. Maybe, no, I do need it over there. I was just thinking maybe it doesn't need to come as much up that way. See, I think I just go into a lulled state when I'm doing felting. It doesn't make for a entertaining banter. Hope you don't mind too much. Just thinking I'll add a bit of this on this one too, seeing I've got it here. Bit of it coming sort of straight up. Just fringing it out before I lay it down on here. Just twisting it a bit as I felt it in, just trying to keep it nicely spread out. That's probably enough of that, because I do also want to show you how we can do the stems as well. So I'll just get this bit. Get this bit anchored down up the top of the leaf. Not the leaf, the petal. Why do I keep calling the petal the leaf? I'm not sure. So I'll still need to do those last two, and I'll probably just add in some more of the different colours, because I think just that variation, I just love how this one looks. And if you can see the little pincer marks, you just give it a nice little sort of brushing, and that will take the little puncture marks out, and you can give it a smooth with your finger as well. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. So we will go down to our stem. Might even go a bit lower, just so that I'm not going to put pressure where the felting is. This is a second-hand Nerge hoop. I think I have heard the Nerge hoops are particularly good. So for our greeny colours, I've got a few different ones. I've got two Corriedale, which come from Lincoln's and a crossbreed of Lincoln's and Leicestershire. Leicester's. No, I still can't say that word. Someone helped me last time, but I forgot how to say it. So I've got a few different tones. I've even got a nice sort of orangey, because that does have a bit of oranginess in the stem. So I might start with this one, the eucalyptus green. I think I've used some of this on my mossy pieces, but I'm just trying to find where I've got a nice end to pull. There we go. Just get started somewhere. So I won't do all of this with you, obviously, because it probably is a bit like watching paint dry, but I just wanted to kind of show you the versatility of essentially a felt painting, I'm going to call it. Felting painting over cotton fabrics or over fabrics. Wool fabrics would work great too. You could also draw your own designs and then felt into it. It doesn't have to have colour under it, but it just it means you can then do a lighter a lighter lay of the fibre and still have the fabric colour show through. So let me know in the comments if you're tempted to have a go at adding some felting to your slow stitch pieces. It is kind of a version of, I guess, yeah, sort of stump work, particularly if you do go quite dimensional. This is more like a felt painting. But isn't slow stitching wonderful that we can merge all sorts of techniques freely? There's no well, there shouldn't be any slow stitch police, hopefully. If there are, this is probably not the channel for you if you've got a firm view of what slow stitching is and isn't. I think it's anything that you can do with fibre and fabric. So let's just, for the fun of it, bring in a bit of this orangey colour. Probably only half of that amount's needed. I might just give my end a tiny little trim just so I've got something a bit straighter to start with. Don't know if I've even got that anchored down properly. Let's just do a bit more there. I like that, yeah, at first glance you wouldn't even necessarily know that it has actually been felted on. You might think it's just part of the coloration, or you might start to think it looks like little stitches, because if you leave the actual little marks into it, it almost has the look of like a whole lot of intense stitching. But this might be a good technique for those of you that do struggle a bit with lots and lots of hand stitching. I'm not sure how this tool would go for those that might have arthritis and things, but I don't have to hold it tightly, it just kind of rests in my hand. But it's just good to kind of not have the same repetitive movement in the sense of when you're stitching, particularly if you're doing something like kantha, it can get, your hands can get a little bit sore. There you go, that's where you can kind of merge the colours. You can also mix them when they're in your hand as well. Let's show you a bit of the non-shiny. So this is just part of the wool, the Lincolns. Well, no, sorry, the Corriedale, the crossing with the Lincolns, and the other word that I can't say. So use a bit of that. This takes about the same amount of felting as the other one. Might even felt a tiny bit quicker, being a wool into a wool. But it's beautiful because it doesn't kind of compete with the colour underneath, it just overlays it, gives it depth and interest. Just finish this and then we can have some doily fondling. I was laughing, my friend Leanne on Leanne's Crafty Cupboard, another lovely YouTuber, she was saying how she buys all these doilies, brings them into her home, but she can't bear to cut them up, and so now she's kind of, yeah, putting them on display. Can't remember what she called her, like a museum of doilies. See, the good thing is for me, when I get a doily that's got damage or staining or holes or something like that, I don't feel too bad about adding it into my stitchery when it's totally perfect. I tend to want to use them whole in my stitchery and then add sort of stitching into them, because that way I figure if I use them whole in my stitchery, if someone down the track wants to kind of take them out and admire them, then they will be there, albeit maybe with my stitching in. But hopefully my stitching is a added sort of benefit to it rather than a detraction. But yeah, if they've got staining and holes, or if they're not sort of if they're not really something that I look at and think, oh, that's an amazing piece of stitchery in the first place, then I don't feel too bad about cutting in and giving it new life. So there you go. That is where I have done felting on the stem and on the leaf. And I'll have to this will need a bit of a sort of a flattening out, and I will give this a bit more of a sort of a brush and finish with that. But yeah, really pleased with that, and hopefully that has given you some ideas of how you can add other textures. So I'll move this out of the way, move my embroidery hoop, put my pin in the pin cushion. These, be careful, put them in a container. I've just got a plastic container, but I probably need to make them a proper container. And then I will grab over my pile of lovelies. So I probably do need to bring you up a smidgeroo, I think. I'll stand up as well so that I can see what you can see. Let's bring you up. Move these to the side and then we can have a look at them one by one. So some of these, I'm pretty sure actually that is hand done, not machine done. I was wondering if it was machine, but no, it looks hand stitched. And even if you're not, let me get rid of my bits of felt that are trying to, my bits of fibre that are trying to attach. Don't need those because these will be going in the wash for a wash and a soak afterwards. Even if you, even if the design, in this case I love the design on it, but even if the designs aren't for you, you can get such lovely linens to use in your stitching as well. So the fabric itself is delightful. That you can tell that this has been stored because it's almost got the print of this on it. So that's quite a sizable one. And yeah, either using this whole, like it would make a lovely, if you wanted to just make a very simple little stitchery pouch, or a pouch to put a gift for a friend in, you could absolutely very easily use it. You'd probably want to, you could even sort of bring it in a bit, and yeah, wouldn't that be, isn't that just beautiful? And you can make these look like an actual envelope. Can't remember how I've done it before, but yeah, you can do sort of folding, etc., and make it look like an envelope. So, and that doesn't look to have much staining. There might, oh no, I don't think that's staining there. That's a bit of felting. So that's one. And then another one, which I think is similar, but it's actually a different colour. And it's on a whiter linen, unless it's just that these, no, I think they look different. But yeah, you can tell it's been hand done because even the little stitching around the edging is hand done. So again, another beautiful linen. Two. Another one. So I think there were maybe 4 or 5 of these ones. But just lovely. If we get a rose prompt or something that a rose can be followed, and absolutely. But yeah, they're in pretty good nick, I would have to say. So these, I asked the lady when I was picking them up, and they were from her mother-in-law and other relatives as well. And she's moving house, so she's having to downsize. She says, I've kept these all these years, but I thought it was time for them to go somewhere else. So yeah, plenty of these ones. That's got a little stain, so that will be ready and ripe for stitching into if that stain, and cutting up if that stain doesn't come out. Now onto some of the other ones. So that's the back of it. This one does have some staining. It's such a beautiful fine cotton or linen. And look at these little daisies. Reminds me of Sally from Dottie B. She made a beautiful bridal gift for her family members that are getting married. And this one was what I saw when I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought, oh yes, I've got to have that. It's a bird, and it's an Australian bird, and just look how fine the stitching is on this. So this is an absolute treasure. It's got a little bit of staining down here, but that won't worry me, because I'd probably, if I'm going to use it like in my in a future prompt, if we get like a bird, because we get these parrots down in our park just down here, I could actually use it sort of in its entirety on the page, and then I could even add some more little flowers to it. So lots of possibilities there, but I'll give you a better closer look. Reminds me of my friend Valita as well, another stitchy friend that does amazing Australian stitcheries. And there's a little stain down here, but again I could just put another flower or a leaf or a little gum nut in, so that will be beautiful. And then this one, again, just lovely stitching. I don't have ones, sometimes I get them and I think, oh yeah, I've got one like that before, but yeah, don't have one like this. Just intricate. Simple but intricate. So there's some staining around the edges, but I'd be likely just to be using that and then using the linen for other stitching in. This would have probably been like a placemat or a little tray cloth. Again, some staining and some age marks, but that will be beautiful to use, and the lovely scalloped edging. And who knows, often I find these stains do come out with a soak and a wash. These ones are such a thin, gorgeous cotton, and they've got this beautiful I think these might be meant to be like little grapes. I'm not sure. They sort of look like grape leaves and grapevine. So yeah, that's a beautiful size. Probably a little runner or a little what do you call them in America? You call them dresser scarves, I think, which is not a term that I've heard used much in Australia. I think I heard Linda from Linny P using that, and I think I might have heard Martha. I'm not sure if Martha's used dresser scarf. So there's a couple of these, I think, but that's just going to be beautiful. Look at that gorgeous white work. And then this one, again similar to that rose, so I think they were working on different linens and doing similar patterns, but beautiful white and bright. A little bit of blue fluff in there. It's beautiful. That one doesn't have any staining. And another one of the gorgeous white cloths. So I think it's a different design, isn't it? Is it just going in a different direction? Yeah, it's the opposite direction. Sorry, I'll move it where you can see. And the flowers are different. Those ones are a bit more bobbly. So yep, definitely done by hand. Let's have a look at the back of it actually, because it looks incredibly neatly done. Wow, look at that. That work is so neat. If I could be that neat, that would be amazing. And then we've got this one as well, which is another one. Just yeah, beautiful cloths. This one's got a bit of age staining and some other stains on it. So again, I'll feel happy to be able to sort of cut out parts of that. I used something similar to this for when I made my little door, my little slow stitch snail and busy bee little door marker for my room here. And this one's sweet, a little vase, and look at how tiny and delicate these little flowers are. Amazing. And just even the work around this work into it and the work around the edges, it's just gorgeous. It's a bit of staining on that, but doesn't worry me at all. And then this one with a beautiful vase, stuff cascading out of the vase, and then more little beautiful flowers. Only a very little bit of staining on this one. So again, that could make it lovely. I'm just sort of, as I look at it, I think, oh, would that make a nice little sort of envelopey thing? Like you could fold that, and then that could come over. So yeah, lots of possibilities for what you can do with these little ones. Something like that could be super cute as a little pouch. You could line it with something. Use one of the other sort of napkins or something as a lining, or use it as a larger piece to put something in the center, or a quote or something like that. Just such delicate work. Isn't it beautiful? And just the edging, crochet edging, and beautiful linen. More miniature, tiny work. I cross stitch into this. Got a little stain over there, kind of wearing away at the seams. I like that these ones look like they have been used and loved, which makes me happy. And again, you can cut out just individual bits. You could do something in the center. You can just add to it, overlap the stains, or sometimes we don't even mind the stains in our work. I love these little garden scenes, and like with a little path leading you into the garden. I thought, wouldn't it be lovely, even as part of this project, to kind of, yeah, have, even for this sort of spring scene, or maybe for a title page or something, it could be absolutely perfect, because it's like that's leading you out of your garden and into the wilds behind. So I can see these pieces ending up in this project. So when I saw it pop up, I thought, oh yeah, that's meant to be. These are meant to come home with me. Beautiful bright yellow. These ones might be in Kate's. I've been actually pulling out a few goodies for Kate, so I'll have to ask her when she's back in. I don't know if she's back in Australia yet, but I might send her a little package. I'll have to find where I put the other ones in this room. But I think these are her colours. I know she's not as much into green though, so I'd have to check if she likes green or not. And so another beautiful little garden scene, little path, and then these are like hanging over the top. Not sure what that little bit up there is meant to be. Maybe they were meant to keep sort of stitching things up there and didn't end up getting stitched. A few little stains there. So yeah, for $20 I am just so stoked. Look at these beautiful little flowers. So delicate. And then another one of those. Isn't that sweet? And a beautiful little basket, I think that's meant to be. Pink crochet, it's come away at the edge over here. Very sweet little daisies. Another one of a beautiful linen, a nice little finish at the corner. Another one of these. It has a fair bit of age staining on it, but it is actually a really lovely, lovely linen. Just the amount of stitching in these little ones, how delicate and perfect it is. And then here's a larger format one with more of that gorgeous cross stitching. It's just amazing. Amazing how they kept it straight. I would not be. Mine would definitely go skewy. But yeah, just love even these borders. Would have taken ages to do. So that's got a little bit of staining, but it's pretty good nick. So again, it'd be nice to do something sort of in the center, or maybe use this as a little pouchy envelopey thing. Like a little toiletries bag or something for someone. How beautiful would that be? And I think this is the last one, which again caught my eye. So just beautiful spring, like these are like the grape hyacinth. So this could even be good if I wanted to do some in my Roxy Journal of Stitchery, if I wanted to do some title pages, for example, of spring, summer, autumn, winter. Something like this could even work as well. So there you go. I better sign off now because we're at the 1 hour mark. How can that happen? I hope you have a good day, good evening. I hope you enjoyed watching that. I hope you've had some lovely finds yourself. And I'll see you soon. Bye.